Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, that's right. Wherever you might be, welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast, episode number 85. Were we ever going to win that game? Who knows? Might have done if Laka and Pepe had put those chances away, but who knows? The game's over now. Lost 3-1. So tonight, discussing it with us, Dan, how are you, sir?
Very good, thank you, Craig. Yeah, little few technical issues, but we're on finally, mate. So that's all good, man.
And we won't mention who the technical issues were with. I'm sure everyone knows.
I think everyone can guess out of five of us, can't they?
Everyone knows by now, to be fair. It's normally me, to be honest. It's the return of the prodigal son, Graham Brooks. How are you, sir?
Hello, mate. It's great to be back and great to be sharing a platform with these two legends, Lee Judges and Kevin Campbell. And great to meet Dan. I think Dan's been a breath of fresh air on the show this year, so it's great to be back with you all.
Thank you very much, mate. It's a pleasure to have you back. Judges!
How we doing? All right. How can you say you just don't like cricket? Come on. After yesterday. What a Sunday that was yesterday, after the disaster of Saturday, we had it fantastic Sunday. It was, wasn't it? So,
well, like
England,
I just said, if cricket was played like they did in the World Cup, if they gave one team one over, I'd watch it.
Ben Stokes, take a bow, son. That's all I'm saying. Take a bow. Done the Aussies.
He'd get knighted for that, will he?
And then the cherry on the top was the Geordies went down to London and took 3 points at Harris. I love Newcastle. Love them.
Always have.
Yeah.
And of course, a man who needs no introduction, former Arsenal striker, Gooner, an all-round, genuinely nice bloke, Mr. Kevin Campbell. How are you, sir?
I am absolutely buzzing at what Lee just said. I couldn't believe it. I'll be honest with you. That was brilliant. Hi, guys. Nice to be on again. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Our pleasure, mate. Our pleasure. Let's start with you, Kevin. I'm going to start with you. Obviously, a 3-1 defeat at Anfield. Very disappointing. Could have been a lot different if we'd have put our chances away. Emery come into a lot of criticism the weekend on Twitter, or on social media in general, and I'm sure in the pub. Kevin, I put a tweet out to say that this team that we played at the weekend got 97 points. The champions of Europe. No right whatsoever to go to their home ground and come out with the points. We didn't come out with the points. Like I said before, it could have been a lot different. Had Aubameyang and Pepe put their chances away. The criticism that Emery's come in for, quite unfair, I think.
Look, it can be unfair. You can see it as unfair, but I think the crazy thing about a lot of the Arsenal fans right now is they wanted Arsenal to go there and have a right go. And when you leave arguably your best guy up front who can hold the ball up, you bring yourself in for criticism. I think Unai Emery obviously had a game plan. The game plan didn't work because if you allow Liverpool's fullbacks to have a lot of the ball, you're going to do a lot of defending and you're giving them the onus. I know we did have a couple of chances where, you're hoping if you could take the lead, but, you're talking about Liverpool here and they can do that to a lot of teams. They've done that to a lot of top teams in Europe. So once you hand them the initiative, you're asking for trouble. But I just thought that Unai Emery, he didn't go there confident enough. Whether he's not confident enough in the defence or his midfield, I'm not sure. Because how Torreira don't start, I don't know. He started Pepe, but I think Lacazette's got to start with Aubameyang and Pepe. Because I think Lacazette brings something different to the table when he plays. So I was hoping that we'd unleash our front three on them. I could have seen Lacazette making quite a difference had he played. But obviously he didn't play. We had a couple of chances. But if we're honest, I think the best team won on the day. And, we didn't actually go for it in the end. We kind of consolidated a bit and tried to catch them on the break, which is sometimes suicide.
Absolutely. Lee, would you agree with that? Or I know you had some opinion there at the weekend. Some of it didn't go down too well. But But let us know what was your feelings.
Well, I totally agree with some of the things Kevin said there, because I think that, and that was a lot of criticism for Emery after the game, was that he was like too cautious, too nervous as a manager of Arsenal, But I have to say, I weren't too disappointed with the tactics. I felt that the tactics were the right way to go. We defended quite well. We did give them the initiative with the full-backs, but what I felt was quite clever was that they were putting crosses in. They've not got a big man in the middle, so that we was defending that quite well. We really stifled him in that first sort of like 40 minutes. And I thought, do you know what? We've had two of the best chances. I think we should have scored at least one of them. I looked even one from Aubameyang. I felt that he should have put that on target, open goal from Adrian's mistake. And then, I tend to agree with what Kevin's saying about does Emery trust the back four? I don't think he does. But then I have to, question his team selection. It's all right saying it after the event. I just think, Torreira last week was on the bench. Xhaka was not even in the squad. So, and he's jumped over Torreira into the side. I couldn't quite understand that. If he wasn't 100% fit, I don't know. The Lacazette one, I've got to ask you guys about this, because I'm having arguments about it. Like, people are saying that Lacazette wasn't fit. That's why he wasn't starting. So my argument to that is, okay, well, if he's not fit, why is he on the bench? And then why bring him on at 3-0 down when the game's over if he's injured? You'd think you'd say, do you know what? I'll give him the game's gone. But my biggest worry from Emery, and I was watching him on the side, is that I felt at 3-0, and this is the worrying thing for me about Emery and the criticism of it. I think at 3-0 he was looking at maybe like not losing 5 or 6 instead of going for the game. And I don't want to see that from an Arsenal manager. I feel that we're good enough. We've got good enough players to at least go for it. I felt that when we went 2-0 down, straight away Lacazette should have come on. Straight away, not 10 minutes from the end. We're 2-0 down. Go for it. We've gone all the way up there, travelled all the way up there just to see, Torreira come on for Guendouzi, and I didn't think that was right there. But in saying that, I'm going to have to go back to the tactics. First 40 minutes, I felt we were stifling them. I felt that we was doing the right thing. I have actually said it, something that we should be looking to do against the big teams away from home, because they are champions of Europe, as we said. They have 40 games. Is it 40 games unbeaten?
Mm-hmm.
Or one defeat in 40 games, so it's going to be tough going there. You don't expect to win there, but again, the first 2 goals, boys, we're done on set pieces. The corner, Socrates again. I'm going to keep going on about him until he's out of the side. Not strong enough, not good enough. Doesn't win enough headers. Gets beaten for the header, and then David Luiz. Well, suicide, and all the Chelsea fans are laughing at us because of it, but. He got exposed for the 3rd goal because he's on a booking. But my other question is that, we're 2-0 down. You talk about tactics. What the hell is he doing out there? And what you have to look at it is that Monreal and Maitland-Niles are bombing on, and we've got attacking players sitting on the bench. So I think there's a lot of things that he done right on the day, but a lot of things that he got wrong as well.
Dan, let's bring you in, mate. And before I do, just a quick shout out to Harry, who's in the chat box. No doubt lying on a sunbed, sipping a pina colada.
Evening, Harry.
Evening, Harry. So, hello, Harry.
Hi, Harry.
Yeah. Don't choke on the olives, will you?
Has he got his Emery t-shirt on?
Probably. And it's got Emery on the front and Xhaka on the back. Dan, before we bring Graham in, what did you like? I didn't think we played. I didn't think we played bad.
Mate, I can't be dealing with this negativity about Unai Emery potentially getting sacked and all this nonsense that I'm hearing. What is going on, man? We're 3 games in. None of us, we all had a prediction on here. I think Lee went for 3-1. I went for 4-2. I know you were optimistic, Craig, and went for to nick it just. But I don't think there was many Arsenal fans expected to win this game. This is a team that are European champions. This is the team that beat Barcelona and didn't just beat them, annihilated them 4-0 at Anfield. One of the best teams I've seen in recent years. So I think everyone just needs to calm down a little bit about the abuse that Unai Emery's getting. For me, it was individual errors that cost us that game, not Unai Emery's tactics. I personally felt that Unai's kind of understanding of that diamond actually nearly worked in the first half. Pepe went through one-on-one. Van Dijk, probably one of the best centre-backs in the world, and Robertson, one of the best left-backs, could not handle Pepe. Could not handle him for, I would say, 25 minutes at least. The first 10, I felt that we soaked up some pressure and had to. After that, I felt that it was really looking quite good for us. And if that goal goes in, Adrian comes running out and Aubameyang squares to Pepe, we're 2-0 up. It's a completely different game. And all of a sudden, everyone's hailing Unai Emery for playing a diamond and hailing Arsenal's tactics. So I think people just need to calm down a bit. Unai Emery did not go up to David Luiz and say, make sure that you pull Salah's shirt and give away a penalty. He didn't then obviously gets a yellow card where then he can't do anything when he skips past him because he'll get sent off. So for me, it's individual errors. I agree with what Lee said in terms of we've conceded a corner, we've conceded a penalty and an individual bit of magic from Salah. Tell me a save that Leno made.
Absolutely, mate. I can't, like I said, I can't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you anymore. Graham, tell us. For the people like me, I didn't think we had a bad game, and I didn't think we played that bad. But tell us, Graham, in your wise wisdom, where did it all go wrong?
Well, I think it went wrong because we made individual mistakes and we didn't take our chances. We weren't clinical enough. He went with the diamond. I must admit, I was surprised with that. I thought we would go 4-3-3. I thought Torreira had to play at the base of a diamond. I think we needed a ball progressor next to Torreira, and then we needed Ceballos playing off the front three. So the reason for that is Liverpool have been playing a high line this season. They've turned more into a possession-based team this year, although they do press high. So I think the game plan that he went with, I wouldn't have gone with it personally, but I could understand what he was trying to do. And I think the strategy, it was really the players not being able to execute the strategy and also individual mistakes from Luiz that cost us on the day. I think it's always a risk, as Kevin said, to give the Liverpool the wide areas, but that's what he did in effect because we went with the 4-4-2 and the idea was to be narrow, compact and force them out into wide areas and deal with the crosses. Now, I have to say, they put 27 crosses into the box from open play in the first half, and we dealt with it okay. We were undone by a set play after 43 minutes, having created the best chance one-on-one. The idea was, I think, to sit deep, narrow, compact, play on the counter, and get Aubameyang and Pepe in behind their fullbacks and try and isolate them one-on-one with their centre-halves. And I think in the first half, Pepe did that. He dribbled past Van Dijk, and he had that great chance when he went through. Had he put that in 1-0, I don't think a lot of people would be disagreeing with the way he set up first half. The one criticism I had really was, and I don't know whether they were playing under instruction from Emery or whether the players just weren't executing his plans. It made no sense with Liverpool high pressing to play out the way we were from the back. I thought that there was a disconnect from that first ball that needed to go forward quicker towards Aubameyang and Pepe, play over the press and get the bias and around and go from there. Play over the top of the press. And what he did was they kept playing out from the back short and they kept turning the ball over and putting us under pressure. So I was surprised they did that. Ceballos, really, his role really was to cut off the link from Fabinho when they played out. And Liverpool were very clever the way they do that. I was very impressed with the way Liverpool dragged us around the pitch because obviously he asked Guendouzi to sort of like sit out wide on the right. And what Liverpool do quite cleverly is they play out to the right side, then Arsenal's line sort of shifts across the right-hand side and they immediately switch it to the left to Robinson, who was having acres of space. So that was the risk, but I think we dealt with it okay. And then 43 minutes, they scored from a corner. You can't blame Emery for that. They scored from, well, I think Harry would. But but they scored from a set play. But when we went in 1-0, obviously at half-time, then he had to make a decision. Did he change it? He could have changed it at half-time and gone 4-3, brought Torreira on, put Lacazette in. And as Kevin Campbell said, Lacazette's a focal point. I think we needed him to hold the ball up and bring players into play. We didn't go with that, so we didn't have that. But when Luiz commits 2 sins right at the start of the second half, I will say, and obviously Kevin's a professional footballer, Lee's played at a high level as well. What was Luiz doing in that situation? Because when the ball, again, Xhaka didn't pick up for Firmino, who came into the hole. When he flicks it in towards Salah, he's going away from goal. So Luiz had didn't really have to make the challenge, didn't really have to do something because he was going away from goal. So it's almost like instinctive with Luiz, that sort of madness of pushing out a hand. And I think that's one thing that when we bought Luiz, he's the best ball playing centre-back in the league, but he's also prone to those errors, and that cost us. And before we could react, really, we were 3-0 down because Luiz was then on a card as well, couldn't as he said himself, make the foul, but really shouldn't have dived in on Salah. He should have stood off him. But once Salah puts in at 3-0, he could have brought Lacazette on straight away, but the game's dead, isn't it? The game was dead. We lost it between minutes 43 and minutes 60. So overall, I understood what he was trying to do, Craig. I understood the strategy. The players didn't execute it, and we made bad mistakes. But me personally, I would have gone 4-3-3.
Like every time Graham finishes, it's like we might as well just finish now, really.
I will say though, like my personal thing is, as soon as that goal went in and they was 1-0 up, I come down. I was with Ken. I said to Ken, game plan got to change now. It's done. It's not. It's out the window now. He's got to change it at half time. And I was disappointed that he didn't. I
must admit, I was the same.
I
was the same.
For that,
I think we all were.
That's when he had to change it and bring on the free light and go for it. And I felt the lack of ambition there is worrying for me as about you, Emery. But I will say this: the overreaction. I totally agree with what Dan was saying there. A couple of the comments there. The overreaction after the game was incredible. People calling for his head. I understand everybody's upset and all that after the game because it's the heat of the moment. But it is right. I think, I did predict that we was going to lose the game. I did say that. And I felt that because of that, I didn't fall as high. But I think there were people genuinely believing that Arsenal were going to go there and win. And, felt a lot more let down than probably what they should have done. But what was the annoying thing for me? At 3-0, I was angry because it's again at Anfield and getting another stuffing. And I don't, I look at Crystal Palace. They're not going to these grounds and getting stuffed. They've gone to Old Trafford and got a result. And I feel that Arsenal have got to get the mentality right. And I do believe that starts with the manager. And I think someone just said in the chat there, which is a great point, like, is it like all these away games and only 5 times that Lacazette and Aubameyang have started on away games? Come on, you got your two. Our strength is them 3 up top. It's our strength. We're weak at the back. So utilise the strengths and not the weaknesses.
Absolutely. Kevin, obviously you played plenty of games for Arsenal. I just want to touch on the point there that when you weren't doing so well, and even as a player, you must come in at half-time thinking the gaffer's going to change this up. If things weren't going so well and you got into the changing room and you're thinking, George Graham is definitely going to change this around, and he doesn't. What kind of thing goes through the players' minds?
I think with George Graham, what you've got to do, what George was very good at, which maybe a lot of people didn't understand, was he made in-game adjustments, subtle ones, which will absolutely stop the opposition. For instance, when he would play a 4-4-2, you would expect the 4 to be really stretched across the pitch. So what he might have done against this Liverpool team, he might have said, right, I want the 4 to play narrow. So it's like you got 4 players very tight across the centre of the pitch. So the wide ones could always get out to the fullbacks before they engage with the Arsenal fullback. But that subtle adjustment means that the centre of the pitch, you're not getting overrun. Because I felt at times we were getting overrun in the centre of the pitch. It seemed like they had more players on the pitch than us at times. But if George Graham didn't make adjustments, that's when somebody like Tony Adams will make adjustments. And he'll say, right, what I want you to do, centre midfielder, I want you to sit. I want you to sit and screen. So no matter how far they come forward, the likes of Firmino and Salah can't get the ball and turn, because I thought that was hurting us at times as well. And I know, yeah, Liverpool scored from set pieces, etc., etc. But if we're honest, they created a lot of chances.
Yeah.
They didn't hit the target most of the time, so Leno couldn't save them. But the momentum was just so much Liverpool. That's why it was really difficult for us to really get out and do any damage.
Dan, what would you have changed, Dan, at half time if you could have done?
I think personally, I would agree with the lads. I was so shocked that both Torreira and Lacazette weren't in the team. I don't understand why Xhaka goes straight back in. I know I don't want to slag off your mate, Lee. Sorry, mate. But no, in all seriousness, I don't understand how he walks back in. Didn't particularly think he had a good game again. I thought Willock and Guendouzi, for me, I don't think they've had terrible games all season. So I would have liked to have seen Torreira in there. I think he probably would have broke things up a bit better. I like what he did when he did come on. I think we looked a lot better. Not just because he scored, obviously that was great as well, but I think he looks like a bit more of a warrior, should I say, not a warrior. And I feel as well when it comes to Lacazette, I think Lacazette for me should have started, and I don't know why we were waiting so long for him. That would be my only two question marks on what Unai Emery did. I don't feel there was anything else that I looked at and thought, oh, this is really going bad for us now. And I appreciate the diamond did not work, but I appreciate also what he was trying to do. And I think sometimes you have to hold your hands up and say, do you know what? Liverpool are a better side than us. We're not competing with them. We've still got to remember that we have to take some positives away from that. And we shouldn't rely on other results, but they did go our way. So actually, let's just move on to the big game at the weekend now and forget about what happened on Saturday for me.
Absolutely, Graham. I mean, moving away from the Liverpool game, and a disappointing result, but like Dan just said there, I don't think and I've said it so many times already, I don't think we played that badly, and I think that when Sunday comes round, we're going to be bang up for it. So the unwashed are coming to town on Sunday. They visit us at the Emirates. So we need to get onto some questions, and this one comes in from Arsenal, Dan Graham. Do you think we should start Aubameyang, Lacazette and Pepe against Spurs?
Before I answer that, can I just say that on Liverpool, they haven't lost at Anfield, I think, for 2 years now. And I think sometimes when you go and play these sort of sides, I think mentally, I think the players would have known that they've had a couple of heavy hammerings the last 2 years, and Liverpool are invincible at home. So that obviously is one thing I think we also have to factor in. What I wanted to see was an improvement on Saturday. I did see some improvement, so that's positive to take out of that match. In answer to the guy's question, yes, purely and simply yes. I think the time is right now to start Auba, Laka and Pepe against Spurs, playing Pepe on the right, Auba on the left, and Laka in the middle. And what Laka can be is he can be like a false nine who sort of like comes out and links the play. And I want to see what the thing that I like about Laka and Pepe is I think that they can sort of like switch positions and run in behind. And we saw in the game against Burnley the way these three players are so talented, they can move around the pitch and interchange. Laka was sometimes coming out to the right. Pepe was playing centre forward some games. So I think you've got a combination there of great finishing, pace, and also you've got the focal point and the build-up play of Lacazette, who really, for me, is almost like our Firmino. And I think that we've been wanting these three to be unleashed. I think this is the time to do it against Spurs. Yes,
absolutely. Lee Judges. This one comes in from Always a Gooner. Who would you start at the back when we're fully fit? And he's also answered: do we start Pepe, Auba, and Laka on Sunday? A fully fit defence, Lee. Who do you choose if you've got a fully fit defence?
Well, you know what I mean? None of them. Maybe only David Luiz would start. I'd go Bellerin, Tierney, Luiz, and Holding would be my four. And if not Holding fit, Chambers would come in, just going back to that thing with the front three. I think that it's a must, particularly at home. And I think that's the difference between Arsenal and Liverpool at the moment and Uri Emery and Jurgen Klopp, because I guarantee you that when Liverpool come to the Emirates, whenever it is, that their front three will play against us. They won't chop and change. That their front three will definitely 100% play against us. And I think that we've got to go really attacking against Spurs. You know, I think they're under a little bit of pressure after Sunday. So, you know, that I've said it all along, and I'll say it again on here. Something's not quite right at Tottenham. Pochettino seems to be grumbling about at the moment. Like, you know, keep leaving Eriksen out. They can't afford to let Eriksen go for nothing, but then they can't afford to not have him in their squad. So let all their problems continue. There's a real good chance for us to really eat home. The big problem for me is, and this is where I'm going to look at Emery on Sunday, is who he plays in midfield, because them three definitely start, but one midfield player that has to start for his last 3 games, and I thought was our best midfield player by a country mile, was Willock. And I think that, you know, he should play. But if he does play Willock, it means he's got a massive decision, because he can't play Willock, Ceballos and Xhaka. So he's going to have to either leave out, and I think we'll all agree that Ceballos has got to play because we're at home. But so that leaves it out of Xhaka and Torreira a lot. And I've got this horrible, nasty, niggling feeling in my mind that Emery's going to leave out Willock and play them two. And I'll be furious if he does, because at the end of it, I have to say that I'm Willock, yes, on Saturday, didn't matter who he was up against, tried to do the right thing. Out of all the best players, he controlled the play, his passing, everything like that, went past players. But I just don't want him to be left out of the side because, it's the easy option because he's young. But definitely them three up front, definitely Ceballos plays, and definitely Willock, and one of those two. And you know what I mean? I've got my opinion of it should be. Maybe we'll leave it till later on. But and also it's time now to bring in Chambers for Socrates for me.
Big shout out, Kevin. Chambers in for Socrates. What do you reckon?
Look, he can freshen it up. Of course he can. The front three have to play. Look, I look at our front three as potentially being what Liverpool have.
Yeah.
Now, every time they're fit, the majority of the time they play, whether it's home or away, because you know they're going to be a threat. That's what we need. We need to get them three playing together and scaring the life out of teams. That's what we need. So, for me, they definitely play. Could Socrates get dropped for Chambers? I think yes, he could. I think Callum Chambers has been unlucky that he got dropped after the Newcastle game, to be honest. I think him and David Luiz, as long as David Luiz don't have a brainstorm like he did on Saturday, could form a good partnership moving forward. Because I think Callum Chambers he got a season under his belt at Fulham. I know he was playing a little bit out of position at times, but that has given him a bit of confidence. So we need players with confidence. We need players who are going to do no nonsense, defend no nonsense, especially against the Spuds. So why not? I think that's a good shout by Lee.
Thank you, Kevin.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. Friend,
Craig,
friend.
Craig, can I just come in on our midfield then? The only thing that worries me about sort of when we go with this front three. Now, Pepe and Aubameyang don't do a lot of running back, tracking back. And you noticed on Saturday that not that we want them to be running back because we want them high up the pitch. I noticed when we played Burnley, Aubameyang was too deep from the goal in the first half until he switched over to the left-hand side second half. So if you look at the way Liverpool play, they play those three forwards. They have a really hard-working midfield. They haven't got what I would call a lot of talent in their midfield, but what they've got is three players that run around a lot and work really hard and get the ball to those front three. And those front three don't do a lot of tracking back because those midfield three are doing a lot of work off the ball. So we've got to seriously think, and it's all right. I'm not disagreeing with the judge. I wouldn't dare do that, Lee. But and I do take on board the things you said about Willock. But we've got to be careful about the structure of our midfield, right? If we're playing Aubameyang and Pepe on the left and the right, and they're not tracking back. We've got to think about who we're playing in central midfield, because we've got to have runners, people who are press resistant, but also people who can solve problems, but also who work really hard off the ball to win the ball back. So for me, Torreira has to play in that midfield. And then I think you need to have two. I think the thing about Ceballos and Willock is that they're interchangeable. They can play at 8, they can both play at 10. So that wouldn't, for me, be a bad midfield. But you got to remember, we're asking those two lads to do a lot of work. Now, Guendouzi is a really hard-working player. Could he come in? And I'm looking at the structure at Arsenal midfield, and I'm thinking, well, the one DM we have got is Torreira. Xhaka and Guendouzi are the ball progressors, and then Ceballos and Willock are the sort of like floating 8-10 sort of players. So I think we've got to be careful when we're playing against Tottenham. You've got to remember Tottenham have got a very physical midfield. I think we lack a bit of physicality in our team. That's another point to make. Lacazette is a very physical player, so he'd be good to have in the side. He would come back and work back into midfield off the ball. But I do think we have to be very careful the way we get the midfield set up, not only against Tottenham, but against all the top clubs in the future, because if you're playing Pepe and Aubameyang in those wide areas, I don't think they're going to do a lot of tracking back. I don't know what the other boys think about that.
Yeah, I think personally, in terms of the midfield, I'm with Graham there. I would go with Ceballos, Willock and Torreira. I don't think they will. I hate to say it, but I think Willock will miss out, and I think it will probably be Torreira, Xhaka and Ceballos, because Xhaka seems to get a game every single week somehow. So I think that will probably be the three we go with. What I will bring up as well, and just in terms of the defence, and this will change on midfield, let's not forget that Bellerin, Tierney and Holding are all set to come back yet. I think that's a massively important thing that we haven't mentioned yet in terms of our back line, because I think Bellerin and Tierney are an upgrade on what we've got at the moment in terms of Maitland-Niles and Monreal. And I think also Rob Holding probably gets into the first team at the moment as well for me. So that's an important thing to bring up as well, Phil.
Sorry, just laughing at Dan. Sorry, my apologies. If you
Trent
take
Darby.
Robinson and Terence Trent Darby out of their side, they would struggle.
I think that was my last 12-inch.
I wish I had a 12-inch. I've lost my train of thought now. Lee, I didn't want his head, but I was unhappy. It was the same old defensive errors. The club has done good business up top, but we are still weak at the back. That comes in from Paul Dealey.
Totally agree, Paul. Totally agree.
Here we are now. Why can't I get rid of this? I don't know. This is from Colin. Liverpool haven't lost at Anfield in 2 years. Klopp has brought back fear back to Liverpool, which he didn't have under Rodgers. Add to the fact that Liverpool have had 2 to 3 years to gel as a team. Totally, utterly agree with Colin there. There was one here now that I've lost. That I wanted to.
Can I just say something about that?
Yeah,
because going to the game, right, bumping into a few Liverpool fans, talking to them and whatever, they was a little bit fearful of us. Yes, on Saturday, they weren't thinking, they were nervous. So if they were nervous, then I think maybe Klopp could have been a little bit nervous as well. But I take on point what he's saying there. But it was, I have to say, a lot of the Liverpool fans were, well, this could be the time that Arsenal do us and whatever, I've always something.
No, sorry, mate. I'm burping. Kevin, Lee Farrell. Who should we start at centre back? If you was manager, Kevin, on Sunday, who would you put in?
I'd play Chambers and Louise. I would.
I don't know.
I'd play Chambers and Louise. I would.
I've not been impressed.
Look.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, but Socrates, he played last season, did he? And done pretty well against Harry Kane. But I just think Chambers has got more. He's got more legs than Socrates. And I think, me personally, I think Socrates sometimes is a liability. He can be. Not all the time, but he can be at times. But I don't think Callum Chambers put a foot wrong at Newcastle. So I think he's really unfortunate to be left out of the side for the last couple of games. So, I could see him coming back. Whether he does or not, I don't know, but I would.
Question for Lee. How long does it take Lee to choose his T-shirt before a show?
What's wrong with my T-shirt? You know what I mean? So
as long as it's a white one and half his tan, that's all he cares about.
yeah, that's it. White, I can't go wrong with white at the moment.
And I must tell you that your tan has now gone. So you couldn't stop.
I tried to top it up in the garden today, but
no, you didn't. You've been getting Dove bloody what the one that gives you the
5.5 hours. 5 hours to get home today. Joke, unbelievable, like traffic everywhere. We had to go through Stoke going up there.
Oh my god!
Yeah. That's unreal, like that. I thought it might.
I'll tell you what, he weren't good at Stoke, mate. Trust me.
Oh no, like that. So they're in trouble, Kev, at the moment, aren't they?
Big time.
Well, as we're on that subject, how is your son doing? It's Tyrese, isn't it? He's just broken into the first team, hasn't he?
Well, he broke into the first team a couple of seasons ago. Made his Premier League debut at 18. He's 19. He's 20 in December. Had a really good pre-season, and he's been getting minutes sparingly, which, you know what we're talking about at Arsenal, where give these youngsters a chance. It doesn't seem like the manager's giving these young players a chance who can make a difference. So, you know, we're going to see moving forward. The team haven't been doing that good, although Ty's done okay. So fingers crossed he gets a chance now, because he can't do any worse than what they've already had.
He'll get a chance tomorrow when he leaves, I think, in the.
I think he will, won't he? Yeah, in the
cup.
cup.
Won't he, Kev? Got to.
I'd like to think so. Just like before a game, I never ask him what's going on that, because I want him to concentrate on the game. So I'm going to be going across to Leeds tomorrow. So fingers crossed he gets a chance.
Dirty Leeds United.
Dirty Leeds.
Love Ellen Road. What a great place that is, by the way, Ellen Road.
I'll tell you what, though, I have to say, I know we're going completely off subject here, but the Leeds fans are a credit.
Oh,
they are.
Brilliant.
That's what every football ground should be like. I mean, when they were in League One, they were getting 30,000 fans.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a great ground.
Proper supporters.
Well-supported club, yeah.
Well-supported.
Fanatics, fanatical, yeah.
Let's hope Eddie Nketiah keeps scoring as well, eh? Give him a good season.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not tomorrow night, though. Not tomorrow night.
No, not tomorrow.
No, not tomorrow night.
Question for Dan: do you think Ozil will come back into the team on Sunday, being it's a home game and he's only got to come around the corner?
No, he's not going to play. I don't know what's going on with there. I don't want to get into the politics of it all, if I'm honest, because it frustrates me. But I do feel like Dani Ceballos, although be it he had a bit of a poor game at the weekend, I think tactically it just wasn't his sort of game. He has to play for me, Dani Ceballos in that role. I'd have Joe Willock and Dani Ceballos over Ozil at the moment, and Mesut needs to sort his head out and see what's happening with him this season. I really don't understand what's going on. Kolasinac seems to be on the bench. Mesut Ozil does not. I don't really know if there's anything more going on there that we don't know about. It seems to be all of a sudden that he's sick again. I don't get how many sick days does this guy need? I mean, it's crazy for me. So, yeah, I don't feel that he'll get in against Spurs. And he's not the sort of game, I don't really want him to, if I'm honest. It's not the sort of game for him, I don't feel either. I feel that he does go missing in games, big games like that. So I'm happy with Dani Ceballos at number 10, personally.
Just before I go and ask the next question to Graham, good evening to you all in the chat box. Good evening. Sorry, I'm a bit late coming around to you all. 370 of you watching live. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Graham, I want to come to you on this one. This is very interesting. This is from Jimmy Mack. He came back. Aubameyang doesn't seem confident. Sorry. Aubameyang doesn't seem confident in big games away from home. Would love to see his away stats. He's actually got a good point there. Actually, he's got a great point there, because he does seem to go, a little bit missing. But I think how bigger players do go missing away from home. It's all right when they're at the Emirates, when everything's going good and the going's good. But when the going gets tough, we don't see a lot from them, Graham, do we?
Well, you could argue he reflects the team away from home, doesn't he? The fact is the team haven't been playing well away from home for a long time. So maybe it's something to do with that. Also, the way we set up sometimes. We've said that earlier in the pod, we don't see Lacazette and Aubameyang together much away from home. So, I must admit, I don't know what his stats are away from home, but I mean, most teams away from home struggle, don't they? Look at Tottenham; they haven't won a away game for 15 games now, is it? I saw that stat today, or they've only won 4 of their last 15 or something. They're struggling to win away from home, and if you're struggling as a team away from home, your top players are going to be struggling to score away from home because you're going to be creating less chances. So, I mean, I'm not questioning Aubameyang. Aubameyang's, in my opinion, our best player. Just coming back briefly to that Ozil point, I wonder what he thinks now, looking at that midfield developing, because he must be seeing Ceballos and Willock and Guendouzi. It's a totally new midfield this year, isn't it? We haven't said that. That is a totally new midfield. And I think he must be looking at that, wondering if he's going to ever get back in. But no, on the Aubameyang point, yes, his form probably isn't as good away from home, and a sad reflection that the team probably, the way we play away from home, I don't know what the other boys think about it.
Lee?
Well, I think you probably look at his statistics. He's probably against the top sort of 6 sides. I think he got hat-trick at Burnley last season, 2 at Burnley last season. He scored against Newcastle. I don't think it's against the lesser sides. It's those top games that he don't seem to do it. I thought he'd done okay against Newcastle, if I'll be honest. But I felt that he was hit and miss again. What's the annoying thing about him is it's not the first time. People go, oh, he's this brilliant goal scorer, which he is, but he does miss some bloody good chances against the top teams. I go back to.
But he gets in there, Lee. He gets in there.
He does get in there. He does get there. So I'm not going to knock him for that. But if he gets in there, he's got to bloody well finish him. You know what I mean? Like he should have scored on. He should have scored on Sunday. Saturday. Not only that Saturday. One, Saturday. The second one as well. How long did he want? You know what I mean? Like we're 2-1 down. People forget about that. 2-1 down. 2-0 down at the stage. He goes clean through. He has about 15 seconds to But I believe if he was at home, he'd bang that in. So I do agree that his probably stats ain't the greatest. But look, I think we have to also say about Benny. One minute he's playing wide, then he's playing up front, then he's playing in a different position. There isn't really, you look at even going back to a couple of seasons ago when Sanchez went up front for Arsenal, when Arsene Wenger took him up there, every game he was up there, you're up there, and people were doubting it, we see through. I see him playing up there one time, then he's out on the wide. I think that it's a little bit harsh on him, and I think what we've sort of said a little while ago, that if you have the 3 of them up front, home and away, every game, I think that understanding will be a little bit better, and I think that it ain't fair on Lacazette, by the way, as also being dropped out of the game, bringing back in. Somebody said to me the other day coming out, said something about Lacazette and said, "Oh, he ain't scored an away goal for such and such a time." And I said, "Well, he ain't bloody played an away game for such and such a time." You've got to say that these guys have got to play Aubameyang, play him where he in his best position. And I think he can be a little bit of a free spirit, if I'll be honest. And so I would actually say that his stats are probably, I would say we're pretty good against the lower 6. But I'm trying to think as we
34 goals in 52 games, man. I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah, is that? Yeah, so exactly. So, but what I was saying about those, but I'm just trying to think when was the last time he scored against one of the big boys, and I can't remember.
Well, Tottenham at home, he got a couple, didn't he?
No, away from home.
You're talking about away from home?
I can't think, you know what I mean? I think Lacazette has probably done it a few. I don't know. So, so if you've got your best top goal scorer not scoring against the top boys, then it's going to be very hard expecting somebody else to do it. And, yes, it's great. He's got a great record at scoring goals, as we've just atoned to there. And he also has a great record scoring against these teams at home. But I'm not necessarily saying it's his fault that he's not scoring away from home. Again, I'll have to look at the lack of ambition from the whole team, from the manager and the setup. Why are we not getting those chances? Thierry Henry, for instance, would go and score against anybody.
Better team.
Kevin, if you can hear me, your mic is disconnected. Kevin, if you can hear me,
he's muted himself. That's the first.
What he's talking about that. If If we could, just while before Kev comes in, well, we think about Aubameyang. He's only been with us for a year and a half, hasn't he? So he's only played.
No,
think
no,
about
so
he's
give
played
him. I'm
Yeah.
not slagging him up. No, no way. I agree with
I-
you.
No, I don't
looking-
think anyone's slating him. Are we? We're just saying, obviously, his answer to that question, which was about him, is away form, and it's quite a good question. To be fair, I just feel that there's other players we should be questioning, not him. So,
Absolutely, Kevin. I still can't hear you, mate, for some reason.
He's turned off.
Yeah, you seem to be muted, mate.
Just coming back to the Aubameyang point, I'm thinking about his away performances last year. He had a poor performance at Chelsea. He missed a couple of great chances.
Can
He
you
missed
hear me
the
now?
penalty.
Yeah.
It's the earpiece.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can
Hear me now,
hear me now.
guys.
Well,
Look, go on, Graham. You finish, and I'll come in after.
No, I'm just going to make the point that away from home last year, Chelsea away, he missed two bad misses when we lost 3-2. Tottenham away, he missed the penalty, didn't he? He could have scored and missed the penalty. Liverpool, we got smashed 5-1. He was up front on his own. I don't know if Laka played in that one, but we just got smashed. And when we play Liverpool, Man City, we have to recognise they're a cut above us. So he's playing against better team, better defenders. He's going to have less opportunities. Now, at home, when we're more at it, when we have more of the ball, he's obviously going to get more chances and he scores more. Away from home, we have less of the ball because we're asked to defend more. But just coming back to that point, Kevin, you can come back in and tell me, what were your stats like away from home as a striker compared to your stats at home as a striker?
That's interesting, actually, Graham, because your stats will always be better when the team is confident. When you've got a back four like we had, it didn't matter where you went. And that's the truth. It was about winning. Sometimes, your stats might not be good, but somebody else's stats will be good away from home. But even as a striker, you know you could make the difference if your team could hold the other team out. But at the moment, I think we can't hold teams out at the other end of the pitch, especially the big six. So that might put a little bit more pressure on the striker. And I think that's where we
it's a good point, Kev. Yeah.
I think that's where we suffer as Arsenal. And it's going to take time to get that. Once Bellerin and Tierney come back and Holding come in, I think we're going to be a stronger unit. We'll be a stronger unit, especially away from home. But I just think the fact that Aubameyang, nobody's sure what Arsenal's going to turn up away from home. So maybe that's a little bit more onus on him. And he just can't carry it at the moment.
That's why I said after the game, why is everyone going so meltdown? This is far from our first team that we're putting onto the pitch.
Can I just make a point about Aubameyang, Craig? He did go away to Valencia last season and put on a show that in a semi-final and got us to the final with an away performance of sublime play. So he's capable of doing it. I don't want us to feel like we're having a go at Aubameyang here because I think it's important that we stick together.
Absolutely. And what I was saying, you think, I know it's not going to probably happen till October, November now, but Leno, Bellerin, Holding, Luiz, Kieran Tierney. It's a completely revamped defence. Dan, would it have been a different result if that was the back four last week?
I don't feel we would have won the game. I still feel we would have lost. However, what I will say is Bellerin and Tierney, in my opinion, are upgrades on Monreal and Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I like Ainsley Maitland-Niles as a footballer. I don't feel he's a right back. And I feel that those two would have been a lot better at trying to deal with the width of Liverpool. Would it have made the? Who's put that, Danny? I'm eating custard tarts. Brilliant. I feel that it wouldn't have been a 3-pointer or a draw, but I felt they would have probably dealt with Liverpool's wide men a lot more. I just wanted to ask Kevin a question, if possible, in terms of strikers, because obviously, as a central striker, the onus is on you a lot. Did you prefer playing as a kind of one man up top on your own, or did you like to have somebody next to you like an Ian Wright or somebody like that?
Dan, I'd much prefer playing two up top. I think, especially in this day and age, playing 2 up top, that means you could play 2v2 with the centre backs.
Yeah.
Very rarely do the centre backs play 2v2. Normally there's only 1 up top and 2 out wide where the fullbacks could take. But if you play 2v2 through the middle of the pitch, there's so many different combinations you could use to defeat them. And especially if you've got a player like a Pepe wide who can beat his fullback. If Pepe beats his fullback, one of the centre halves have to move out to defend him. So that creates space for the 2 strikers, and there's only 1 centre half. So that's why I would definitely play Aubameyang and Lacazette through the middle and work that combination and have Pepe floating. He could go wide right, wide left, wherever he wants to go to create danger. He should be able to go, but we need a front 2, I believe.
Yeah, I'm with you, mate. I'm totally with you.
This comes in from Leafeld. This is for you, Kevin. I'm sure you've answered this one plenty of times before. What's your favourite Arsenal goal you scored?
Actually, my favourite goal is the first goal I scored in front of North Bank. You remember that chant, "You never beat Des Walker"?
Yeah.
Remember when and done it?
Yeah, it happened and I done it and I scored in front of North Bank scored the 3rd goal, beating Nottingham Forest 3-0. That was the 3rd. So my first goal in front of North Bank on my home debut, that was my favourite goal.
There you go, Lee. I hope that answers your question. I've lost the next question I was going to go to.
There's a couple of good ones in there, Craig. One was from Karen Russell.
Take it away, Graham.
Yeah, 2 questions I'll put out to the boys. Karen Russell asked this one: should Aubameyang and Lacazette play up front together away from home? I think we've answered that one, and I think the answer to that is yes. Somebody else put a really good question in there: who should be captain of Arsenal on Sunday?
Wow. Who should be captain of Arsenal on Sunday?
Oh,
I've already answered this.
David Luiz one's gone after Saturday. Last Saturday.
Wow.
He's gone. Do you know what
I
mean? He's gone.
I noticed in the program, because normally when you get the program, and normally you have the managers. Last week against Burnley, you have the managers spot, the managers column, and then you get the captains column, don't you? Last week, Xhaka was given the view from the dressing room. It wasn't as a captain. So, what does that tell you that he hasn't decided who the captain's going to be
yesterday? He came back in on Saturday as captain. Says it all.
Okay.
For me, the choice I'd go would be, I don't see a genuine leader out there. I don't see one out there that I think, do you know what, that is the guy that is going to be our captain. So for me, I would go for a fan favourite who I believe is the most passionate out there, and the person that I would give the captain's armband to for this season is Laka.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, mate. I've always, you know me.
Doesn't play every week now, though. That's my worry about that.
Yeah.
Well, he has to, mate, doesn't he? He should be playing every week.
Yeah, but I don't know if, I'll be honest, I don't know if Emery fancies him that much, because he seems to be, someone hit me with that question coming out. And I don't know. Do you know? I've changed my mind. Do you know? I'm going to give it to my one. I'm going to go for Leno.
I was just about to say it.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you.
I was just about to say it.
I can't have David Luiz now because of what he done on Saturday, Kev. I can't. You know what I mean?
Goalkeepers Union.
Unforgivable.
Goalkeepers Union.
Come, Kev. Who are you going for?
We can see that as a goal.
David Luiz.
Yeah,
it's a good. I can't disagree with that. Yeah.
He made a mistake. If in the same game you saw Van Dijk pull Pepe in the box. Sometimes these things happen, and we know. Sometimes he's got a rick in him, but for me, he's the standout guy who leads this team.
Absolutely.
That's for me.
I can't disagree with it. Can't disagree with it. This one comes in from Paul Taylor, comes to Graham. Good evening, guys. I just feel by Christmas we will be a totally settled side, with all players being totally match fit and available. We just need to hang on in there until then. What do you think?
Point. Brilliant point. Yeah.
100% agree. Yeah, 100% agree. I think the thing is, we know we've got players coming back. Funny thing is, what amazes me about us is that we have players not fit at the start of the season. Then you have other clubs sort of like their players come back, sort of like virtually straight back in the side. Just trying to think who it was. in the Man City team, missed one game and straight back in, and we got players not fit or need to come back in like Torreira. But I do agree. I think that by Christmas we will have a settled side. I think this is a massive season for Emery. I don't think we can actually sort of play that down. I think he's got the tools here really for a top 4 position here this year. Chelsea under Lampard, Chelsea rebuilding with a young side. Man United, look at the problems they've got already. I think that it's already surfacing there. And I think Tottenham, as we've already alluded to, that there's not a happy camp there. When they don't have Eriksen in the side, they struggle to create, and he's seemingly on his way out the door. They've got players not wanting to renew their contracts, like Vertonghen and Alderweireld. And I just don't think they look the same side. I know they've got Song to come back now. He started back last week. But I think we've got a great chance here when we get this team together and he gets the only thing with Emery is I just don't think he knows what his best side is. And I think we're struggling for identity. I mean, there was a question in there earlier. Does he sort of like pick his team based on who we're playing? And I think he does. I think under Wenger, you always knew how we were going to play. He was going to put his best players on the pitch and we were going to go for it. Under Emery, I think he sets his team up according to the opponents. And I think sometimes you do need an identity of the way you're playing because players are seeing different players come in every week, different strategies. And that does sometimes unsettle players if they don't know what the person next to them is going to do if somebody keeps changing position. So I think he does need to establish what his best team is and what his identity is. Yes, he needs a couple of tweaks, but if he can get it right, by Christmas, we should be seeing this team really sort of like moving forward. And I think we know that Liverpool, Man City are a long way ahead of us. But I think that, there's no reason why we can't get into that top 4. And if he doesn't do it, I think, as Lee has said himself, I think there'll be serious questions asked.
Also, boys, I've got to say this. All in all, it wasn't that bad. It didn't turn out to be a disastrous weekend, did it?
Not really.
Not really. We come third. We're third in the league. Realistically, Man City and Liverpool above us, which we're all going to expect to be like. Spurs losing, Man United losing to teams at home, which you wouldn't expect them to lose. We're expected to lose to Liverpool. Yeah.
And the thing is, Lee, right? If I said to you at the start of the season, would you be happy with 6 points after the first 3 games? Everyone's going to say yes.
Yes.
Well, you're never happy, are you? But
but everyone would have said yes at the start of the season.
If we beat
6
Spurs,
points out of 3,
we've had a good four games, haven't we? Really, I think. We're guaranteed to be in third place, go to the into the international break, and really we're top of the tree compared to because we're all going to agree that it's out of Manchester City. They're challenging for the title. The rest of the best challenge for the Champions League. So we're in a good position. I don't think it was such a disastrous weekend. It could well have been, but Man United. Listen, I don't think any of us would have sat here and said that Man United weren't going to beat Crystal Palace. And I certainly, even when Spurs went 1-0 up, went 1-0 down, I would have still put my house on Spurs coming back. So not a bad weekend, really, from that weekend.
It's 1-0 at Newcastle.
and plus the cricket as well. It was a great weekend.
I'll stop talking about cricket. Now I'm going to bring this one in here because I like it when people from who we've played watch the podcast and put in things like this. So respect to you, mate, as well. Only one Liverpool. Respect to Arsenal from a Liverpool fan. All you need is a little patience and you will improve. We were the same when Klopp first became manager. Defensively very bad. 3 years later, we're flying. Absolutely, and I agree with you. Yeah, and best wishes for the rest of the season because I think Liverpool are going to win the league this year.
I think the thing is, if we look at it, Liverpool got that through really the way that they've invested. You remember they're a self-sustaining model like us. They've bought their players from good sales. They've sold Coutinho, sold Suarez, and reinvested really well under Klopp. And I think that we saw this week Josh Kroenke in his when he did that interview. He's sort of like, it's great to hear that his plans for the club. I think we haven't talked about that tonight. So I think that the way Liverpool have reinvested, obviously they waited for Klopp to get back in the Champions League before they gave him the money. But once he got back in the Champions League, the extra money was there. He got the investment and the backing, and they've really sold shrewdly and invested their money and bought well, haven't they? And I think that we saw under the old regime of Gazidis and Wenger that we were very bad at managing players' contracts. But we've got the new structure in place now. I think the Josh Kroenke, they've got the new guides in place. I think there's a plan moving forward. And I think it's great to hear from him on his visions for the club. And I'm more confident where we're going now. I think that we'd stagnated under Gazidis and Wenger. And I think now we're moving positively forward with this new, with the new guys that the ownership have put in place, Raul and Vinay and all that. And I've seen positive things. I like what Josh was saying the other week, I have to say.
I think it's interesting bringing up Liverpool there as well, because I feel that if we go the same way they have in the next couple of years, I'll be very, very happy. And I feel that they were similar in terms of they conceded some goals, but they always scored goals. We're quite similar with that. They then rectified what they needed in a goalkeeper and a centre half, and now look what they are. If we can do that, and then the next couple of transfer windows, I'm excited personally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's
Liverpool built from the front.
Yes,
Liverpool built from the front, didn't they?
They certainly
but
did.
Front back usually how Arsenal used to do it was from the back going forward. They built from the front going back. We've got a front three now that we should be making sure we have the midfield to complement, and we need to be able to get that side of it right. And then obviously it's about getting that defense right. So we possibly might be doing it from the front backwards now anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agree, Kev.
Now, before we go away, because we've been going for over an hour now, and before we do finish up and we do go away, I want to get a prediction from each one of you, because of course, as we know, the Unwashed are coming to town on Sunday, and we need to get some predictions. So Dan, Arsenal versus the Unwashed, what will the score be?
I think we will beat the Scum 3-1.
Sorry, ladies and I'll beat that word out later on. Sorry to any Tottenham fans who are offended by that. I'm only joking. Couldn't care less. But I just didn't want to call them that word. The Unwashed, I think, is a better phrase. Graham.
Well, the last 2 years, we beat him last year 4-2. We were trailing 2-1 at half time. He switched it round. He went I think he went a diamond that day in the second half. He put Ramsey on to press from the front. And then the previous year, we beat him 2-0, didn't we? By sort of like when Sanchez, I think, was instrumental in that win. So we've had 2 wins in the last 2 years. So I think at home, we've turned the corner against them. I'm going to go I think we'll concede. I can't see us keeping a clean sheet, so I would go 3-2. Arsenal win.
I think we will concede, but I think that we'll play really well in this game, and I think we'll win 2-1. But I think it'll be a convincing 2-1. I think that we'll be all right on this game. But and I'll tell you what, I always say that we're at home. I think
Absolutely,
we're a different team at home. I'll back us at home against anyone. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the other point we need to make is it depends how Tottenham set up, if they play Kane and Song up front or whether they play VAR up front. I think their best player. VAR's been their best player this season, hasn't he? So.
Kevin, what do you reckon?
I agree with Dan. I think it's going to be 3-1. I think Pepe's going to get his first goal. I think he's going to be special on the day, and I think we'll beat him 3-1. I'm gonna go 3-0. I don't think they'll score. I can't see
Kane
him
go over in the box, won't he?
Yeah,
Kane go over in the box.
He can't dive. Yeah, but he can't dive. He can't dive anymore. He can't dive like he did at the weekend. That's out to the jury, but it's a complete dive. If you watch it in slow motion, he goes to lean against the fella and finds out he's not there. And it was like Del Boy going to lean up against the bar.
Do you know what? I would have preferred this game to be at their ground this time.
I would.
I really fancy that there's something not quite right with Spurs, and they'd have to when they're come to Emirates, they can afford to just defend a little bit, but they can't do that at home. And I felt that we would have been able to pick them off better. But I still fancy us that we're at home.
I fancy Danny Ceballos to get a goal, actually.
What about that one? 8-3.
8-3.
8-3.
Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if we just absolutely
annihilate,
run all over them? Wouldn't it?
7-0.
Run riot. I'd love us to run riot.
Oh, run riot. Yeah, you know what I mean. Look, that could be the headline for next week. Arsenal run riot. Oh, that'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Like, you know what I mean? Beautiful, beautiful.
Shout out to Fergus Keating there for first North London derby.
Oh, look at this one. Look.
Don't jinx it.
We get them everywhere. We get them every week. Look at this one. Look. Hey! Thanks for spending your Monday evening coming to watch deluded Arsenal fans talk for an hour. Good on you. Good on you. Hang on. What's this?
Oh,
dear. I can't agree with that. I can't agree with that, I'm afraid. Look at that.
We might be saying Arsenal 2, Tottenham 1, I think, because it says 2-1 in the front there, like, you know.
White Hart
Lane. Very good, Martin. Very good.
I like that, Martin. Well played.
Yeah, same here. An Ober hat-trick would be great. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
I think the best one I've seen was the clock end, the picture of the clock end, and a picture of the cock end. So, see that on Twitter the other day.
Well, we have come to the end of this week's podcast. Thank you, everyone who has been watching. 415 of you watching us live at this very moment. Thank you very much indeed for all your support, and thanks for sticking around and listening to us to waffle on for about an hour and 5 minutes. Dan, been a complete pleasure, mate. Thank you for coming back again.
Nice top, Dan.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. Can I just say, Craig, as well, it's been an absolute pleasure to share this podcast with an absolute legend, Graham. Thanks so much.
Don't invite him again, Craig, please.
No, I won't. I'll tell you what, there'll be no points. There'll be no points for you.
No, there won't, mate.
I'll tell you what, we're supposed to be meeting up, like, you know.
Oh, no. I'll buy you one now, Lee. Kev, honestly, in all seriousness, Kev, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. You're a legend, top man. Thank you very much, mate.
No, you're welcome, Dan. Great to be on.
Graham, how did you enjoy that? Good to be back.
Good to be back. Yeah, great to be back and share a platform with Kev, of course. Can I just give a shout out to Lee and Kev's show on Arsenal Fan TV? So I imagine everybody's seen it, but Kev and Lee are doing a show on Arsenal Fan TV at the moment. I thought it was absolutely a brilliant show last week, and I think they're doing it fortnightly, aren't you, Lee?
We're trying to.
Fortnightly?
You know what I mean? Tying Kevin down, you know what I mean? It's tough, you know. But I have to say, you know, thanks for that as well, Graham. But I've got to say, how many Liverpool fans come up to me, Kev, and said that they watched it, and you know, for you being an Everton player, I thought that was quite a big compliment, you know. So you know that they've got a little bit of time for you, even though that the arrivals. But it was. I
was on the other side.
Yeah. So
the only thing is. The only thing is, Lee, it begs the question: are you being unfaithful to Craig? Then you know he's laurel to your Hardy, ant to your deck. And now you're running off with Kev. What's that about? Isn't it?
Yeah, sure. Look,
I'm just borrowing Lee. That's all, Craig.
That's right. Look, I didn't want to say it, but yeah, you know. I mean, look at Ryan. I mean, oh shit, it's Graham. I didn't notice until now.
I'm in the kitchen tonight. I'm in the kitchen.
Lee Judges, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really enjoyed that. Like, you know, it was a tough one to take on Saturday, but I think, you know, everybody's still positive, which is a good thing. And by looking at what we feel about Spurs, you know, that's to me now. You know, if God would have come down and said, Lee, you can lose to Liverpool, but you can beat Spurs, I'll take that every day of the week. So. So it's still on as far as I'm concerned, and let's hope that we all have a better Sunday this weekend.
Absolutely, and of course, saving the best till last, Mr. Kevin Campbell. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast this evening. An absolute honour and a pleasure to have you on here, mate. Thank you very much indeed.
Craig, you're welcome. Great. Listen, I'm an avid watcher of this show anyway, as always. And look, what we do know is, if Arsenal beat Spurs, which we think we will do, the Liverpool games are raised, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get them Spuds beat. Let's run riot.
Run riot. Let's run riot.
Let's run riot.
Right. So thanks very much indeed. Thanks very much if you're watching us on replay and you've lasted till the end. Thank you very much indeed. If you're watching this video, please give it an old like. Click that little thumbs up buttony thing. Because it helps us get get seen in the suggested videos bit. If you're listening to us on Spotify, iTunes, or SoundCloud, thanks very much for tuning in to us again. And until next week, hopefully, we'll have, hopefully I'll be spinning around on my chair and I might do a few head spins. That's why I'm going bald, because I've been doing too many. But hopefully we're going to beat Spurs next week. And as Kevin said, completely erase the Liverpool game out of our memories, and we'll move on from there. Until next week, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. See you all next week, and up the Arsenal.
Down
the
you
Arsenal.
go.
Up the Arsenal.